Friends, welcome to Biology Made Easy. We are discussing the different theories of evolution. In the previous video, we have discussed the theory of Lamarck, that is Lamarckism. And today in this video, we will discuss Darwin's theory of natural selection. So, in July 1st, 1858, Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace, they put forth the theory of natural selection in the Historical Linnean Society of London. And before putting forth their theory, they are also very much influenced by the English geologist Yale and the famous economist Thomas Malthus. Now, how Charles Darwin came to the conclusion about this origin of theory? He traveled around the world for a period of 5 years, that is between 1831 to 1836. For 5 years, he moved in a ship known as HMS Beagle. And while traveling, he collected different data from different plants and animals, how the evolution has taken place. And ultimately, he sailed to an island, that is Galapagos Island, which is also known as the living laboratory of evolution. Living laboratory of evolution. So in this island, he came across different types of species for which he was very much interested, and particularly he came across some small black birds which were known as finches, and later on they were named as also Darwin's finches. Now during the same time, Alfred Wallace, he was also working in the Malaya archipelago, which is now known as Indonesia. Both of them are working. But when Darwin was formulating his theory, he got a brief essay from Wallace that he has done work about the Malaya archipelago, and this is the work. But the documents prepared by Darwin was more authentic. That is why the theory is known as Darwinism. Though some people call it as Darwin-Wallace theory, but because it is also known as Darwinism, that is why sometimes Wallace is known as forgotten evolutionist. He is known as forgotten evolutionist, or somebody call them as co-worker of Darwin. Now ultimately in November 1859, he wrote the book, that is Origin of Species by Natural Selection. So the name of the book is also very important for examination point of view, Origin of Species by Natural Selection. So in this book, what explanation he has given regarding this theory of natural selection? Let us discuss the salient features one by one. So the first point of Darwin's theory of natural selection, that is the salient features. Salient features of the theory, and the first point is a overproduction. Overproduction, which also we can call as a rapid multiplication. Rapid multiplication. Now, usually each organism, whether it's plant or animal, has an inherent tendency to produce more and more. Suppose in first year one organism produces some, in the second year it will be doubled, in the third year it will be 4 times, then 8 times. That means in a geometrical progression the population usually increases. Let us give some examples. Now, one example we can give from that of the paramecium. Paramecium. Now, usually each paramecium produces in each 16 hours. Now, if all the offspring will survive, then in 5 years, paramecium will produce such a huge mass of paramecium which will be 10,000 times greater than the size of Earth. So from this you can imagine what will be the number. That means in each 16 hours it produces into 2, and if all of them will survive, at the end of 5 years the number of paramecium that will be produced, that will be huge mass, that will be 10,000 times greater, larger than the size of the Earth. From this you can guess what is the meaning of overproduction. Then we can take a second example. The second example we can take that of the codfish. Codfish. Codfish usually produces 1 million of eggs, 1 million eggs per year. And if all these eggs will be hatched into fish in 5 years, it will cover the entire Atlantic Ocean. In 5 years only, it will cover the entire Atlantic Ocean. Now, let us give a third example. The third example we can take that of the Drosophila. Drosophila. Usually, Drosophila gives rise to 200 eggs at a time. It gives rise to 200 eggs at a time. Now, if it will go on reproducing for 40 to 50 days, then it will usually give rise to 200 million flies. Only in 40 to 50 days, 200 million flies. So you can see how it is overproducing. Then let us give another example of the slowest breeder among animals, that is the elephant. Now, if we take the case of elephant, elephant is considered to be the slowest breeder because usually it survives for 90 years. The lifespan of elephant is 90 years. In these 90 years, maximum it can give rise to 6 offsprings. Maximum, because it is slowest breeder. And if a pair of elephants will produce, then in 750 years, it will produce 19 million elephants. In 750 years, it will produce 19 million elephants. This is the case of the slowest breeder. Then you think of others. And if you take the case of plants, so plants also produce thousands of seeds. Thousands of seeds in each flowering season. And if all of them will give rise to new plants, what will be the number of a particular species? So this is known as overproduction or rapid multiplication. That means each organism has a tendency, inherent tendency to produce more and more. So due to this overproduction, what happens? The second point. Now you will come to the second point. The second point is the limited environmental resources. Second point is limited environmental resources, means food and space. These are the two main things. Now you see, when a particular organism will go on producing in a geometrical progression, their number will be too much. What will happen? For the survival of all these offsprings, they require some space and they require to food. That is required for survival. But as the population is increasing, these resources are not increasing. So naturally, there is a carrying capacity. The environment has a carrying capacity. That means a particular environment can sustain a particular number at a particular time. That means the carrying capacity of environment is fixed. That means around this carrying capacity, it will maintain equilibrium. It will maintain equilibrium. It will not allow to grow because there is no space, there is no food. That means around this equilibrium, there will be fluctuation of the organisms. There will be fluctuations around it. That means some will survive, some will die, like that. It will not allow because there is no space, there is no food. So that is the limited environmental resource. Now come to the third point. The third point is struggle for existence. Struggle for existence. Now when the space is limited, the food is limited, and so many organisms are there, what will happen? There will be struggle between the different organisms for food, for shelter, for light, for water, for oxygen, for everything there will be struggle. And this struggle is mainly of three types. Maybe intraspecific, maybe interspecific, or it may be environmental. So struggle, it may be intraspecific. So intraspecific means between different species of the same genus. And this interspecific struggle is more fatal. Why it is more fatal? Because the individuals of the same species, their ecological need is same. They demand the same type of food, same type of shelter, their requirement is same. That is why the intraspecific struggle is more. Suppose there is a piece of meat, two dogs will fight for that piece. Then you can take the case of cannibalism. In case of cannibalism, the larger one eats the smaller one, the bigger fish eats the smaller fish, the bigger snake eats the smaller snake. So these are all cases of intraspecific struggle. Similarly, if you take the case of interspecific struggle. Interspecific struggle means the struggle between two different species. For example, in a forest, a tiger is running after deer to catch it. A snake is trying to catch a rat, and the rat is trying to move away. This is interspecific. That means in case of interspecific competition or struggle, the lower organisms and the plants, they are more affected. Now come to the third one. The third one is environmental struggle. Environmental struggle. Now, along with the struggle between the species or between the different species, side by side, the organisms have also to struggle with the environment. So what are the environment? It may be light, it may be water, it may be cyclone, it may be earthquake, it may be any type of a disaster, any type of catastrophe. Suppose there is snowfall, that is also we have to face it. Suppose there is famine, suppose there is a drought, there is a storm, there is an earthquake. That means the organisms have to face all these struggles also. So the struggle for existence is mainly of three types: interspecific, which is very fatal, then interspecific, and environmental. Now, after this struggle for existence, what is the next salient feature? The next salient feature is variation. This is variation. So, when there is a struggle between different organisms, naturally some variations will arise them. These variations may be continuous, may be discontinuous, they may be useful to the organism, they may not be useful to the organism. Any type of variation may arise. But the variations which are favorable to the possessor, they are usually inherited, according to Darwin. So according to Darwin, the variation is a gradual process. It is a gradual process and it is a continuous process. It is a continuous process. It is a gradual and continuous process. So he told that it is gradual and it is continuous. And those which are helpful variations, they are usually inherited. And those which are not helpful variations, they usually disappear. So this is the view of Charles Darwin. Then after variations, what will happen next? Now the next is natural selection.